Ukraine carried out drone strikes on Moscow throughout the night of September 23, Mayor Sergey Sobyanin reported, adding that dozens of unmanned aircraft were downed. Sobyanin began reporting on the drone attacks on the evening of September 22 and continued to update throughout the night. 34 Ukrainian drones flying toward Moscow were shot down, he said. According to Russia's defense ministry, a total of 69 Ukrainian drones were shot down over 9 Russian regions, including Moscow Oblast, as well as over occupied Crimea overnight on September 23. Airspace over the Russian capital was closed due to the drone attack, prompting a temporary suspension of operations at Moscow's airports. Emergency services were dispatched to the sites where drone debris had fallen, the mayor said. No casualties or damage were reported. Kiev's forces regularly target Russian regions both along the front lines and in the rear with drones. But local media outlets have reported loud noises across Moscow. No casualties or damage have been reported. Explosions were reported in 9 districts of the city. Some outlets say that in Solntsevo and Roitov, drones crashed in residential areas because Russian air defenses shot them down over residential areas. Bucha reported flight delays at Moscow airports, 9 flights at Sheremetyevo, 6 at Nukovo, and 3 at Domodedovo. According to the BBC, Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency denied reports of airport closures, though it confirmed the implementation of temporary restrictions at Sheremetyevo airport. The reported Ukrainian attacks come as Russia continues its regular strikes on civilian infrastructure in Ukraine, while the peace talks have failed to produce any tangible results. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed the damage to important objects of the occupiers, a logistics point for distributing drones for the needs of the occupation army operating in Donetsk region, and a regimental ammunition depot of the Russian occupation forces in Luhansk region. The defense forces of Ukraine are thwarting the aggressors' aggressive plans with effective actions, the General Staff noted. Thus, according to confirmed information, as reported by the General Staff, the enemy tried to organize the issuance of ammunition of various types for the 17th Tank Regiment of the 70th Motorized Rifle Division near temporarily occupied Bodanivka, Luhansk region, as well as to distribute over 19,000 UAVs of various types for the needs of the occupation army operating in Donetsk region, the General Staff noted. Telegram channel, Spy Dossier, said that the ammunition detonated throughout the day. Firefighters began extinguishing the fire that evening. 5 vehicles, likely used to transport the ammunition, were also destroyed. According to the General Staff, trucks delivered tens of thousands of mines, grenades, and cartridges of various types, thousands of tank rounds and artillery shells to the tank regiment's field depot. In the second case, the cargo consisted of various UAVs and related equipment. First, on August 29, 2025, soldiers from the Dnipro Joint Forces operation struck a logistics point for drone distribution. As a result, huge stocks of the Russian aggressors' attack UAVs were destroyed, reported the General Staff. The turn of enemy ammunition came on September 18, 2025, when units of the Armed Forces and the Security Service of Ukraine destroyed a regimental ammunition depot of the Russian occupation forces in Luhansk region. In addition to ammunition, enemy vehicles also burned down, stated the General Staff. As emphasized, the result of effective cooperation between those who find and those who strike is improving every time. To be continued. Glory to Ukraine.
Russian dictator Vladimir Putin continues his purge of those he considers responsible for the failures in the Kursk region. Colonel General Alexander Lapin, who commanded the defense of the region, has been dismissed. This was reported by the Russian pro-government publication RBC. Lapin is exiled to Tatarstan. There, he takes up the position of assistant to the head of the Russian Republic, which spells the end of his military career. In his new position, Lapin will reportedly be tasked with accompanying participants in the invasion of Ukraine and their families, organizing the recruitment of contract soldiers and assisting with the social and medical adaptation of returning veterans of the so-called SVO. Lapin's name is closely associated with Russia's military failures in the full-scale war against Ukraine. In 2022, he commanded the Central Military District and the Center Group. It was under his command that Russian troops were driven out of the Kharkiv region by a swift attack by the Ukrainian army. In 2024, Lapin was entrusted with the defense of the Kursk region. But here too, the situation turned disastrous. Part of the region fell under the control of Ukrainian forces. The Russians were only able to retake the territory in late April 2025 after 9 months of fierce fighting. The Kremlin was forced to beg troops from North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un as the Russian forces were unable to retake the Kursk region on their own. The general's resignation is a significant indication of how painful the Ukrainian Defense Forces' entry into the Kursk region was for Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainian armed forces demonstrated that Moscow was incapable of defending its borders. Media previously reported that the media blamed General Lapin, who lost Liman, for the failure of the Kursk region defense. The Moscow Times noted the similarity between the August 6, 2024 failure and the one that led to the loss of Lyman in 2022 when the Ukrainian armed forces managed to recapture 3,000 square kilometers of previously occupied territory. Now, the Ukrainian army has managed to capture approximately 1,000 square kilometers of territory in the Kursk region. On August 13th, Volodymyr Zelensky stated that 74 settlements were under Ukrainian control. The breakthrough was caused by a weak defensive line and the numerical superiority of the Ukrainian armed forces. The article noted that in 2022, hundreds of enemy vehicles were captured by the Ukrainian army in the Kharkiv region, while military installations in the Belgorod region came under the Ukrainian armed forces' sights. Following a series of defeats along the Balakleya-Liman-Izium line, Lapin was relieved of his post as commander of the Central Military District. Following the defeat in the Kharkiv region, Alexander Lapin assumed command of the defense of the Kursk region, demonstrating that the Russian Ministry of Defense is founded not only on the ideas of atrocities and occupation, but also on nepotism and corruption.